Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to, Carole and Tuesday episode 6. So, I am super hyped for this. It's just continuing to be impressive as hell. Um, this series honestly is definitely rising up there as one of my favorites of all time. It could very easily be in my top three, and I've said this before, but um, it just has to keep proving itself to be this amazing. And it's like, I really wouldn't have expected it to be this damn good. I mean, nothing against Shinichiro Watanabe, but it's like Cowboy Bebop, Space Dandy, um, Terror and Resonance, Samurai Champloo, like all of them have definitely good in them and all of them have quality, but I would not say any of them are anywhere near this level. Now I don't know if any of those were done by Studio Bones, though, to be fair as well. So that might have a thing to put into it as well. Plus, this is an anniversary special series created by Studio Bones. So that they might be putting even more extra care into it because of that. Um, but yeah, so last off we left with Carole and Tuesday actually succeeding with something. Um, and I don't mean for that to sound as bad as it does, but they actually, after all of these failures, after all these missteps and everything, after everything just not going perfectly, they had one big success, and that was their first public performance together. They managed to book this small one song opening gig for another performer at this bar, thanks to Roddy. And the woman who owned the bar was so impressed that she made a phone call, and we don't yet know who that phone call was to, but we very clearly saw how big of a deal it was based on Gus's reaction. So it's going to be big. We also saw Tuesday's brother get in the mix. He was out looking for his sister on orders from their mom, and he found her, but he chose to let her go. He chose to just continue going, and let her be. And I really appreciate that. We have a good, lovable, just caring older brother character here, who's not just going to listen to his mother's desires here, and is just going to let Tuesday do what she wants to do and do what she's passionate about. Um, and I'm sure both him and their mother have heard Tuesday sing before and stuff, so he probably wasn't like super surprised by her talent necessarily when he heard her. I think it was more of just how happy she looked. She was in heaven performing there with Carole. And I think he saw that, and that's why he walked out. That's why he let her be. Now, I do not think that storyline's done by any means. No, that's definitely going to continue being an ongoing thing. But I think that he's at least going to try to respect her passions and her desires here. Who knows how the mother will act, though, especially considering she's running for office. She's probably going to want to keep her image up, and if one of her children is missing or is found out to be just having run away from home and doing her own thing, that's maybe not necessarily going to look as good. All things considered. Gus is proving to be actually a pretty good manager. He's not like the most super competent, but he's not incompetent either. It's just like he's just not like the best at all of this. And he's been out of the game for a long time. He's definitely rusty, all things considered, and he's just trying to do his best. He truly does believe in their talent, and he does even truly care about them. I think that's very clear. He's a good guy. He's a little pushy, yes, but he's a legitimately good guy, and I've mentioned before how I really do appreciate that as well, that he's not like some scumbag or anything. Now the robot we haven't seen return yet, but I mean it's only been like what, one episode since one episode without it, so the robot could definitely appear again. Same with Gus's ex-wife and her girlfriend. They could definitely appear again. Um, it's just not completely clear yet if they will. um, right now, I would just like to see where this goes. Are we going to start seeing more of a string of successes going forward, or are we going to still have some issues coming forth? And I do hope we have issues. Again, as mean as that might sound, I think it'll be good for their character, good for them to face these troubles, because not everything's going to go right. Not everything's going to succeed. If they're going to get to the top, like the pre-intro tells us they're going to have to face some adversity. And that's going to include some problems down the line. It's not going to be just a completely smooth ride from this point forward either. But nonetheless, I am super excited to see where we get from it. Now, last time, I also talked about, I believe, the idea that they might be going into a relationship between Carole and Tuesday, about how this might be a romance series. And I've talked about this in the past as well, with a lot of little hints here and there. But there was one thing from the last episode that I didn't actually pick up on right away. I actually didn't pick up on it until my second watch of the episode. And that was the framing of a certain scene. There's this one moment in the scene where they're getting ready for the performance where Carole puts lipstick on Tuesday. And my thought when watching it for the first time was like, oh, yeah, that's going to look good. It's going to help make your face pop for the performance and all. And it's just good. It's a good thing to put on. I didn't even like put together the framing of that and how it was like set up to be a very romantic scenario. And someone on social media actually compared it to something else, but I don't remember what it was, and I swear it's something I've seen before too. I just can't think of it. But it's making me even more believe that they're probably building to that. And we've already seen there is LGBT representation in this show. And it's very possible. Hell, I mean, I think there was actually LGBTQ plus representation in Cowboy Bebop, if I remember right. And I mean, Ed alone from Cowboy Bebop was pretty androgynous, even though she is a girl. She was very androgynous in appearance to the point where myself and a lot of other people actually questioned her gender for quite a while. But yeah, I think that that Shinichiro Watanabe seems pretty accepting of that kind of thing overall. At least from what I've seen. At least from what I've seen. And definitely from what we're getting in this series so far. And I am so good with that. I am so happy with that for obvious reasons. And yeah, I would be completely fine with this being a lot more slow burn. I think before I did compare it as well to Yuri on Ice, and how Yuri on Ice is definitely a lot more direct and obvious with its hints, while this one definitely seems to be taking things more subtly. And I can appreciate both views on it, both ways of doing this. Because Yuri on Ice made it super obvious from pretty much the first episode that was going to happen. But it also handled it super well in terms of its pacing and writing at the same time. Never made it feel like it was happening too fast, or it was going too quickly, or it was too in your face. It felt still natural. This feels, in my opinion, even more natural than that, though, because it feels like it's not even a big deal. With Yuri on Ice, it did feel like they were trying to make a little bit of a statement. With this, it feels like in this world, it's just natural. Like with Gus's ex and her girlfriend kissing and all, it's like the suddenness of the act took Carole and Tuesday by surprise, but the idea of them being together, and when Gus's ex asks them, do you have any boyfriends or girlfriends or whatnot, they don't seem to be like surprised by that question necessarily in terms of the girlfriend part. And when Gus finds out, like the bartender is a little surprised, but Gus himself is just like, he wishes them well. And people have been blowing up on social media, those who have been watching it, because some people are still waiting because it's stuck in Netflix jail. But for those who've been watching it, it's been blowing up with them about how well that was handled. About that is how you handle representation in media. And I agree. And I'm hoping that this is a slow burn romance. I mean, the intro thing, let's be honest, does kind of hint to that. And I'm hoping that the strong hints in that intro do come true. Because I think Carole and Tuesday could make a very, very great couple. I really do think they could, if it's handled well. But I guess we'll see. So I know nothing about this episode. I don't know what we're going to get into. I don't know what song it's named after. But I guess we'll find out. Because yeah, this is just shaping up to be just super phenomenal. So let's just get this started. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be the afterthoughts and will contain spoilers for the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so in between finishing up the reaction and starting this, I did look up the song Life is a Carnival by the band. It's a good song. It's got a nice funky beat to it and everything that I can enjoy. Kind of like the one song in this episode, though. It's not something I would put on my phone. I could enjoy it every now and again, but it's not something I feel like I would listen to over and over and over. But basically, the song, from a lyrical standpoint, seems to be just about, life. I mean, the song talks about, like, some guy trying to sell, I guess, the person who the song is the point of view from, sell a watch to them real cheap on the street and stuff. It's talking about how you can do all of this stuff, that you can walk on the water, drown in the sand, fly off a mountaintop if anybody can, and stuff like that. And it's basically just saying life is a carnival. Life is going to have its ups and downs. Yes, I don't know why that was sounding weird to me. And it's kind of the same thing as like with other songs, like Life is a Highway or whatnot. It's the same kind of concept here. And I think that fits this episode really well. Because after the success of their first small gig in the last one, they were given this shot as being the backups to this heavy metal band called Omega. Mainly because Joshua, the lead singer of Omega, is kind of a drunken weirdo, and it's not even clear if he's going to perform. And at first he doesn't, so they do get up there, but everyone in the crowd was expecting Omega and are disappointed. And so they start throwing shit at the stage, but Carole and Tuesday persist and start to sing their song, which is the Laundry song we had heard before. So not exactly a new song or anything, but yeah, still nice to hear. But they end up being basically forced off the stage once Joshua comes to his senses, I guess you could say, and starts to perform. And although they're down at first, even with some tears in the works there, they are comforted by some very kind words from Crystal, a pop singer that they both heavily look up to. She encourages them and tells them that she's basically become a fan of theirs, which is hugely inspirational. Um, I've never obviously uh, had that kind of thing happen to me exactly, but there are a couple moments where it's just like when people at conventions recognize me for my content or whatever I do, it feels good. Even if it's something like some person who just happens to watch my videos, finding me at a convention, saying hi and saying that they enjoy my content and everything, like that feels so good. And it's not quite on the same level as like this big name celebrity, of course. The closest I've probably gotten to that is with a couple people from the Brony, well, the MLP voice acting community and stuff. When I first met Andrea Libman at my first Brony convention, Ponyville Cider Fest 2014, she recognized me from Twitter because I had been communicating with her through some tweets and stuff and everything. And I talked about how I was going and said I was excited to meet her and stuff. And so she, like, when I told her who I was, she instantly recognized me. And it was awesome. It was extremely tense as hell. And after I got out of the autograph room after getting the picture and autograph from her, I almost had a breakdown. But still, it was still wonderful. And the same thing happened when I met, actually later that very year, when I met Black Griffin and Michelle Krieber at a concert they were holding here in Michigan. Um, I had talked to them on Twitter. I had gotten this print of both the Black Griffin character and Apple Bloom, Michelle Krieber's character in the show. And I wanted to get it signed. In fact, I showed the print on Twitter, and Black Griffin himself actually asked, "Can I sign that? I want to sign it. It looks awesome." And it's like, that was just awesome in and of itself. But when I met them, they knew who I was, and they were excited to meet me and everything. And I got a picture with them, and it was fantastic. And it's like, those are some great memories. And this kind of thing has happened with other people as well here and there. But again, it's never been like big names like this. But I understand what Carole and Tuesday are feeling here. Their sorrow over basically being forced off the stage in the middle of their song was completely washed away. Not just because they met and got hugged by their idol, but also because she validated them and encouraged them. And the other guy, the guy who I think was supposed to be an ex of hers, he did as well. He encouraged them as well, telling them they've still got it. And that's awesome. They got a lot of good from this experience as well. Sure, there was some negatives to look at, but I think they're going to take a lot away from this. I think they're going to be able to learn from this and work to make themselves better because of it. So yeah, it's life is a carnival. There's ups and there's downs. And you can experience them both at the same time. But just keep going. Um, we also got some other great stuff in this episode. Some just amazing music from the different performers. But one thing I really want to note is going with the entire subtle little hints at the possible relationship that is being slowly built towards. Carole has now given Tuesday a cute little nickname. And yes, I know this multiple times in the reaction, but that is a thing that, I mean, yes, friends can give each other nicknames. That happens all the time. But it's also a thing that people who are interested in each other will often do. And definitely those who are obviously in a relationship. They'll often give each other cute little nicknames, cute little pet names and stuff. And it's just like, I feel it could be another little hint, but it's kept subtle enough to where it's, again, not in your face and not blatant about it. And again, I can really appreciate that because it makes it feel more natural. And of course, obviously, there's the stuff like the way of how Carole comforted Tuesday, both overnight when Tuesday was freaking out and not able to sleep, though Carole wasn't able to sleep either. But and also after they were forced off stage. Um, and then Erdogan is continuing to be a force in the series. He's continuing to they're building something up with him. Um, I'm wondering, is he gonna like find out that they performed? Does he know? Like, what's going on with that? Um, now, the ending of the last episode was actually a little misdirecting because it made us think that Elizabeth, I think her name was, that she had called someone to let them know about this, and that's when she handed off the phone to Gus. But no, it was actually her who was receiving the call. And she was being asked to find someone to act as a backup for Joshua. And that's when she handed the phone to Gus and got Carole and Tuesday the gig, basically. um, and it's clear that she believed in them enough to do that, for sure. I mean, especially with a big music festival like this. But still, it's like the last episode kind of made us think it was going to be a bigger deal and made us think that she was the one who made the call in the first place. So it was kind of misleading, but not necessarily in a bad way. Because you want to kind of do that. You want to kind of hype up the audience for the next episode, make them excited to see what comes next. And I don't think it was necessarily a letdown with what we got. I think that it all worked out. And as I've said in last time and this time, I want Carole and Tuesday to have both ups and downs. I want them to face successes and failures. They have to have both. I actually don't like it when all of these shows like have our characters start at the bottom, but then they just keep succeeding and succeeding at everything until they reach the top. I don't like that. Like in My Hero Academia, I love it in My Hero Academia where Izuku fails at things. He failed to win the sports festival, for example. He lost in that. I he fails time and time again, but he also succeeds time and time again. This shows both sides of that. He failed another thing he failed at, saving Bakugo from getting kidnapped. He has failed and he does succeed at times. They have a good balance with that. It's one of the reasons why I love My Hero Academia so much. Um, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, my second favorite anime, does this as well. We see Ed and Elle fail at a lot of things. A lot of things. Yet they also succeed at a lot of things. We get to see both sides of that, and it balances it out to where it feels natural and it feels real. And so I like that they seem to be doing that with Carole and Tuesday as well. We're having some failures and some successes, and this one actually kind of combined the two. Because yes, they failed overall. They did not get the best gig. They did not get the attention they were hoping for. They did not get the love they were hoping for. And they were, again, forced off stage in the middle of their song. They didn't even get to finish performing. But in the end, they got support from two big name artists, including their idol, and it's going to help them going forward. It's going to help them find that confidence, especially Tuesday, who, let's be honest, Tuesday is a nervous wreck constantly. I can relate. When she found out they were going to be performing and all, she broke, as it was said in this episode. And I mean, even outside of just how that was extremely adorable when that happened, um, it's real. Like, yeah, she's going to be extremely nervous. She's not as outgoing as Carole is. And Carole was extremely nervous as well. She's not as outgoing. She's not as confident. And it's a good thing to show that this will help her be able to gain that confidence. And Carole as well, again. But especially Tuesday. This is going to help both of them in the long run. And so, yeah, I can really appreciate this episode, and this show continues to impress me. It's definitely setting a lot up with all of this, but it's also, again, pacing it really well, delivering it in a very realistic, believable fashion without making our characters seem like overly, like, for lack of a better term, it's not making them seem OP. They're not perfect. They have a lot to learn, a lot to perfect, a lot to work on. But they're doing that. They are working on it. And they're trying to become better. And they're going to. Because we know, again, where this series is headed. Every episode tells us again and again. It's headed to, I forgot exactly what it's called, but it's like the Miracles 7 minutes or something like that. But that's going to be big when that finally does occur. And again, I'm kind of assuming that's going to be at the end of the series, how everything's going to work up to that. But maybe I've actually been thinking, maybe it's not. Maybe we're going to actually still see a little bit after that. I don't know. But that is definitely what the series is building up to. And it's going to be a big deal once it finally comes. But in the meantime, Carole and Tuesday themselves have to be able to work up to that point in a realistic fashion. And so far, the series is doing excellently at this. So yeah, I am really, really loving this even more and more as every episode goes past. I can't wait for next week's. Honestly, I'm really having a hard time, a lot of time waiting and waiting. But we're going to continue being patient, and we're going to get to the next episode next Tuesday. And hopefully it'll be just as good, if not better. In the meantime, tell me what you thought of this episode of Carole and Tuesday, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,